A girl breaks into a secret lab expecting stolen science and finds a living dragon hooked to machines instead. She frees it, not knowing its blood can cure any disease. But every time it heals, the dragon becomes more human. Now they're on the run from a powerful company that will do anything to get him back. What would you risk to save lives if it meant destroying the last of something magical? If you are not, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video. And tell us, where are you watching from now? Let's jump into the story. Certain things begin with a whisper, not a bang. For Sylvie Noor, it was the hum of an old security panel unlocking deep inside Orlis Deep Labs. It was past midnight. She had 22 minutes before the next patrol. Her heart beat faster than her. Boots could carry her, but her mind was sharp. Focused, she wasn't just breaking in. She was searching for truth. The underground facility stretched beneath the city like a hidden spine. Sleek hallways, glowing panels, a sterile silence that felt too clean to be natural. Sylvie had been here once before. Not as a thief, but as an intern, back when she believed science had boundaries. That belief didn't survive her final week. She followed her map through an old maintenance shaft. Dust covered the rails. Forgotten warning signs flickered half-lit. Room E47 was marked restricted, sealed behind layers of encrypted access. It took her 6 minutes to crack the lock. When the door slid open, her breath caught. Inside was not a storage room or an experimental tank. It was a chamber. And inside the chamber was a creature. Scales like burnished copper shimmered beneath blue light. Wires and tubes ran from its limbs, feeding into machines that beeped softly. A glass wall separated Sylvie from what looked like a myth brought to life. The creature had a long tail curled under its body. Wings folded tight, a ridge of spines lined its back, and its eyes glowed like polished amber under FIREHT. A dragon. She stared, stunned. This wasn't genetic engineering. This was something older, stranger, alive in ways science hadn't explained yet. She stepped closer, hand trembling as she lifted her ocular lens to record. The dragon didn't move, but its eyes followed her. "You're real," Sylvie whispered. The room was warm, too warm for standard conditions. The tubes pulsed with a soft glow, feeding a collection tank filled with something not quite red, not quite blue. The color shifted. As it moved, Sylvie read the label on the tank. Cellular Correction Compound. Designation: Specimen K. They're using your blood, she said. The dragon blinked once. Its nostrils flared. It made a sound halfway between a sigh and a low growl. The machines beeped louder in response. "That can't be comfortable," Sylvie added. "All right." She glanced at the control panel. Old code she could override. It released the locks. But releasing a dragon wasn't something her training ever covered. Then again, neither was watching one slowly drained like a battery. The dragon raised one talon, pressed it gently to the glass. The gesture was deliberate, like it understood her. Sylvie stepped forward, placed her hand on the glass across from the talon. The surface radiated heat, not mechanical heat. "Living heat. All right," she said quietly, "but we only get one shot." Her fingers danced across the panel. She bypassed security with seconds to spare. The chamber hissed. Locks disengaged. The glass wall lifted. The dragon didn't roar, didn't attack. It stepped forward, slowly, gracefully, as if it knew freedom was fragile. "Come with me," Sylvie said. "We don't have long." 7 minutes later, they were moving through tunnels beneath the old tram lines. The dragon followed her without question. Its scales made soft clicking sounds against metal, surprisingly quiet for something that large. Sylvie's apartment was not designed for mythical creatures. It barely fit her and her equipment. But the dragon curled beside her worn-out sofa as if it had done it 100 times before. Tail tucked in, eyes half closed. The tubes had left marks on its skin, faint glowing spots where the blood was taken. She brought over her medical kit. This might sting, she warned. The dragon didn't move. It allowed her to clean the wounds. As she applied ointment, she noticed the glow in its blood shifted. Again, brighter when agitated, pulsing when still. Fascinated, she took a tiny sample. Under the microscope, the blood danced. Literally, cells changed shape, repaired themselves, responded to stimuli. This isn't magic, she said. This is biology we don't understand yet. Her voice trembled with awe. For Sylvie, science had always been about questions. This was the biggest one she had ever faced. She glanced at the dragon. What are you? It opened one eye. Her cum device buzzed. Breaking news alert. A breach at Auralist Deep Labs. High-value biological assets stolen. She laughed once. Hollow and sharp. Well, she told the dragon, we're officially on every watch list. The dragon shifted, wings twitching slightly. Do you talk? Sylvie asked. Half joking. The dragon stretched, then spoke in a deep, calm voice. Only when someone listens. Sylvie dropped her tablet. You can talk? She whispered. The dragon nodded once. My name's Corin, and you are the first to treat me as more than a resource. She stared at him, her world changing with each breath. I'm Sylvie. Then we are both outlaws now, Sylvie. The silence returned. But it was no longer empty. Outside, the rain returned, soft, constant. Inside, a girl and a dragon sat together, the shimmer between scales still glowing faintly. A spark had begun, one that would soon ignite something far bigger than either of them could imagine. The night in the Shadow District was thick with fog and forgotten stories. Tall buildings leaned like tired giants over narrow alleys where the rain never fully dried. Sylvie Nor led Corin through a maze of rusted stairs and flickering streetlights. He followed silently, the sound of his claws echoing faintly on the wet ground. Each step reminded her that she was no longer alone and no longer safe. They entered through a steel door hidden behind an abandoned train station. Sylvie tapped a pattern on the keypad. The lock clicked open. The door led into a hollowed-out maintenance tunnel repurposed long ago by the city's quiet rebels. This is Tesson's place, Sylvie said. It's not fancy, but it's off the grid. Corin ducked under the doorway and stepped inside. His copper-colored scales shimmered in the dim light. Though he moved with grace, she noticed he paused now and then, as if adjusting to a world he hadn't walked through in a long time. Tesson waited inside. He was tall, wiry, and covered in old tech tattoos that glowed faintly when he frowned. You brought a dragon, Tesson said. I brought a survivor, Sylvie replied. And we need your help. Tesson didn't argue. Not yet. The safe house was small, but equipped with everything Sylvie needed. Monitors lined one wall. Medical scanners sat on a steel table. Her old microscope was there too, cleaned and ready. Led Corin to a padded bench and began removing the old bandages from his wounds. The marks from the tubes were still glowing faintly blue. They drained him like he was a tank of fuel. Sylvie said Tess and watched with careful eyes. You know what you're risking, right? Harboring something like him could bring down the whole block. He's not a weapon, she answered. He's a cure. That word hit differently in the Shadow District. Here, people lived one illness away from ruin. Cures were fairy tales told to children. Not real, not affordable. Not allowed. Sylvie placed a small blood sample under the microscope. Tesson leaned in beside her as she adjusted the focus. The screen displayed moving cells. They shifted, corrected, healed. His blood repairs damaged cells, Sylvie said. Not just slows them, reverses the damage completely. How much? Do you have? Tessan asked. Not much. But that's not the real problem. She looked over at Corin. His wings were folded tightly now, smaller than before. He stared at the far wall, silent. Each time his blood is used to heal, she continued, he loses a part of what he is. Tessan blinked. Loses how? His scales change. His strength fades. His form becomes more human. Corin finally spoke. His voice was low, measured. Every drop shifts the balance. When enough is taken, the dragon disappears. Sylvie stepped away from the microscope. But the healing power could save thousands. Millions, Tessan whispered. Or destroy what's left of him, Corin said. The silence held for a moment. Only the hum of the machines filled the space. Then Sylvie opened a small locker. Inside was a folder. She handed it to Corin. This is my brother, she said. His name is Rain. He's dying. Some neural decay condition no one can fix. Corin flipped through the papers. Scans, charts, photographs. The signs of a life slowly fading. You want to use my blood, Corin said. I won't do it without your permission, Sylvie answered. Yes. Corin looked at her, eyes glowing faintly. Just one dose, she added. A small one. It might be enough to stabilize him. Tessan cleared his throat. You're asking him to give away a piece of himself. Maybe forever. I? No, she said softly. Corin turned his gaze to the floor. Then to Sylvie. He's your brother, he said. Yes. Then I'll help. Sylvie's breath caught in her chest. Thank you. That night, she set up a cleaner extraction system. No more crude tubes, no pain. She worked gently, collecting only a small amount of blood. Corin sat still, calm, his wings resting flat. The glow from the blood was softer this time, like moonlight. In a bottle. She stored the sample carefully, tested it again. It reacted perfectly, even better than before. This could change everything, she told Tessan. It already has, he replied, but she saw the signs. Corin's scales near his arm were fading, turning smooth. His fingers looked more human than before. Each drop brought a cost. A quiet sacrifice. As dawn approached, Sylvie stood outside the safe house, staring into the misty sky. Corin joined her, wrapping a warm blanket around his shoulders. Do you regret it? She asked. Not yet, he said. They watched the city lights flicker far below. The world was waking up, unaware that something powerful had shifted deep beneath its feet. You know, Corin said, most people fear dragons because they don't understand them. And now? Now I fear what happens when dragons start understanding people. Sylvie nodded. She understood too well. Healing always came with a price. Now it was a matter of how much they were willing to pay, and how long they could stay. Hidden from those who already knew the value of dragon blood, the real hunt had not even begun. Sylvie stood over the glowing control panel inside the safe house. Screens flickered with maps, security feeds, and biometric data. Time was closing in on them. Since the night she and Corin escaped the lab, Auralus Deep Labs had activated its full surveillance force. They called it containment. Sylvie called it a manhunt. She scrolled through the latest files. 8 names appeared, all marked with red indicators. They were patients with incurable conditions, each one barely clinging to life. She couldn't look away. Not now. Not when she had something that could change their future. Behind her, Corin sat in silence, his back against the wall. He had wrapped himself in a coat too small for his size. His wings were gone now. Only faint ridges remained where scales once shimmered. His copper color was fading. Human skin had replaced much of it, but his eyes still burned gold. I've found more patients, Sylvie said, just like Rain. They have weeks, maybe days. How many? Corin asked. 8, she answered. And I know it's asking more. But if we do this, they all have a chance. Corin nodded slowly. Then we give them that chance. For the next 2 days, Sylvie worked without rest. She collected just enough of Corin's blood for each. Treatment. She packaged it carefully and used secure contacts to deliver the samples to trusted clinics. The results came fast, faster than even she expected. Cancer cells disappeared, neural pathways rebuilt. Viral infections burned out within hours. One by one, patients opened their eyes. Some smiled, some cried, all lived. Word spread in whispers. Miracle recoveries, unexplained healing. But along with the whispers came suspicion, and Aurelus Deep Labs was listening. Director Halvern sat behind a long steel desk. His office overlooked the city's core, where towers pierced the sky like needles. He tapped his fingers slowly as his agents reported in. We're tracking strange cell mutations in Quadrant 7, one agent said. Traces match sample K's signature. Halvern didn't blink. Increase patrols. Authorize use of prototype enhancers. Sir? The agent hesitated. You mean the V-series? They were made for this, Halvern replied. Outside the safe house, Sylvie noticed new drones. Flying lower. Security checkpoints were appearing along the main roads. People were being scanned, some taken away without explanation. They know we're here, Tesson said. He had returned with a backpack full of equipment and 2 burner phones. Then we move soon, Sylvie said. We finish what we started. How much time do we have? Corin asked. Sylvie checked the map feed. Red zones were expanding around their location. Less than 72 hours. Corin turned toward the small mirror above the sink. He barely recognized his reflection. He touched his face, his jawline, his hands. He looked human. But inside, he wasn't sure what he was anymore. When this is over, he said. What? Happens to me? Sylvie hesitated. I don't know. He looked back at her. But they can't have what's left of me. No, she said. They can't. That night, Corin sat beside Sylvie while she decoded Aurelus Deep Labs. Secure files. Hidden deep inside, she found something she hadn't expected. They've been creating copies of your blood, she said. Synthetic versions. Are they working? Corin asked. Not like yours, she said. They provide temporary boosts, strength, healing, but they burn out fast. Have they been tested? She pulled up footage. Armored agents running faster than any human should, taking down targets with inhuman precision. These are their elite hunters, she said. They've already deployed them. Corin leaned forward. Then they're close. Yes, Sylvie said. Too close. But that wasn't all. She found something else. Deep in a hidden directory labeled Project Vanguard. It was a blueprint. Not for a cure, but for transformation. They're not just trying to heal people, she whispered. They want to become dragons. And they're using my blood to do it, Corin said. Sylvie looked up. But your blood heals by removing what's unnatural. They're twisting it. Then they're not becoming dragons, Corin said. They're becoming monsters. Sylvie closed the files. We need to stop them, not just hide. Then we go to their main facility, Corin said. We shut them down from the inside. Tesson shook his head. You'll never get through security. They know your face. They know Corin. As a dragon, Sylvie said. Not as a man. The room went still. Corin met her gaze. You're suggesting we use my transformation. We already have, Sylvie said. You're human now. Or close enough. Then we use that, he said, and finish this. She opened a file on the screen. Floor plans of the central vault. The location of the original blood samples. the heart of the experiment. If we destroy the vault and upload the data to the public, she said, Aurelius falls, and the world gets the truth. Corin studied the map. What happens if they catch us? They won't, Sylvie said. Because they'll be looking for a dragon. Corin nodded. Not a man. Outside, the wind howled against the metal doors. Inside, a plan was forming, not just for escape, but for justice. And deep down, Corin felt something he hadn't in a long time. Purpose. They would go beneath the steel veil, and they would bring it down. The morning was gray when Sylvie and Corin stepped into the heart of the city. Skyscrapers loomed above them like silent guards. The air felt tense, like something waiting to break. Corin wore a cap and a heavy jacket to hide the last traces of what he once was. Only a patch of scaled skin peeked from his collar, glowing faintly in the light. They walked side by side, silent but determined. Every step brought them closer to the core of Aurelius Deep Labs. The building was black glass and steel, cold and towering, rising from the city like a weapon aimed at the sky. Inside, security was tight. Drones hovered near the ceilings. Scanners beeped at every doorway. But Sylvie had prepared. She had created fake credentials. They passed through checkpoints as maintenance workers, moving quickly and quietly through service halls that smelled of bleach and metal. At the third gate, a guard squinted at Corin. Have we met before? He asked. Corin gave a polite smile. Probably in the filtration sector, he said. I've worked most of the lower levels. The guard nodded slowly, then waved them through. Inside the elevator, Sylvie exhaled. You're getting good at lying. I've had centuries to watch humans, Corin replied. They reached the research vault on level 17. This was where Aurelius stored the original. Blood samples and test data. Everything that powered their miracle drug. Everything that made them rich and untouchable. Sylvie hacked the lock. Inside, rows of glowing cylinders lined the walls, each one marked with a number, each one holding a piece of Corin's past. He walked slowly between them. This is what they took from me. Not anymore, she said. She opened her pack and connected her portable drive to the central console. Encrypted files began downloading. Research notes, patient data, formulas. She planned to send it all to the free press before destroying the vault. As the files loaded, Corin pulled the last vial of his blood from his coat. He turned it in his hands. The glow inside pulsed like a heartbeat. This is the last one, he said. You don't have to use it, Sylvie replied. He looked at her, one eye now fully human, the other still golden. Yes, I do. They placed the vial inside the containment unit and set the charges. The lab would be ashes in minutes. The world would finally see the truth. But as they turned to leave, the door slammed shut. Alarms screamed. Red lights blinked across the room. Sylvie's console flashed a warning. They triggered a lockdown, she said. The screen showed 3 inbound squads, enhanced hunters. The ones who had taken Corin's blood and turned it into power. We can't fight them, she said. We don't have to, Corin replied. He stepped toward the center of the room and raised his arms. He closed his eyes. The faint patch of scales on his shoulder began to glow. What are you doing? Sylvie asked. Letting go, he said. In that moment, the remaining blood samples reacted. The containers pulsed brighter. The machines trembled. The air filled with energy. Corin's body shifted. Not back into a dragon. Not fully, but something in between. His form glowed with heat. Light poured from his skin. He stood tall, burning with the last fire of what he had been. The doors burst open. The hunters rushed in. But they didn't find a man. They didn't find a monster. They found an ember that chose to burn. Corin raised his hand, and the machines exploded in sparks. The hunters fell back, blinded. The vault crumbled under the force. Fire met steel. Truth met lies. And everything broke. Sylvie grabbed the drive and ran, through smoke and ash, through shattered halls. She didn't stop until she reached the street. Behind her, the building burned. She turned, breathless, waiting for him to appear. He never did. Days passed. News. Outlets reported an internal failure at Auralus Deep Labs. A fire, a security breach, nothing more. But then, the files Sylvie released reached the public. Headlines exploded. Miracle drug exposed. Secret healing hidden from the world. Protests followed. Investigations opened. Everything changed. Hospitals received copies of the healing formula. Scientists confirmed its power. New laws were drafted to stop private companies from hiding life-saving research. Rain was among the first officially treated. His scans showed complete recovery. He smiled again. He laughed, and he lived. Sylvie returned to the ruins of the vault weeks later. Nothing remained but broken stone and melted steel. But she found something. A small mark on the wall, shaped like a dragon's eye. Corin was gone, but something inside her knew he was not dead. She returned to the safe house and kept working. She improved the healing formula, shared her research, helped others. And sometimes, late at night, she would hear a sound in the wind, like wings brushing the clouds. He had burned, yes, but some. Embers do not fade. They wait. They watch. And one day, they rise again.